In a small, cozy house, immersed in the greenery of an old garden, lived a cat. Her name was Marfusha, and this name, soft and round like the cat herself, suited her very well. Marfusha was a graceful beauty, with thick, fluffy fur the color of melted milk and large emerald eyes. She loved basking in the windowsill, watching the play of sunbeams, and lazily stretching, showcasing her natural elegance. Her life was filled with leisurely joys, tranquility, and it seemed that nothing foretold trouble. The house was filled with an atmosphere of kindness and comfort. Marfusha's owner was Anton, a tall, good-natured man with a quiet voice and gentle hands. He loved his cat unconditionally, and Marfusha reciprocated, purring her quiet song when he stroked her soft back. Every morning began with Marfusha jumping onto his bed, demanding her share of affection, and Anton, smiling, gladly bestowed it upon her. He always said that Marfusha was not just a cat, she was a part of his soul. Marfusha's life was filled with little rituals that made each day special. After her morning affection, she would go exploring the garden, chasing butterflies and catching sunbeams. During the day, she napped in her favorite armchair, and in the evening, like clockwork, she would come to Anton's lap to listen to his calm voice and enjoy the warmth of his hands. But even in this idyll, like a gentle breeze, there was a barely perceptible hint of anxiety, as if somewhere around the corner of fate lurked something that could disrupt this quiet harmony. Besides Anton, other people were present in Marfusha's life, each playing a small but important role. Kira, a neighbor, was a young woman with a kind heart and a great love for animals. She often visited, bringing treats for Marfusha, and the cat, usually reserved with strangers, always greeted her with joy, purring, and allowing her to scratch behind her ear. Kira admired Marfusha's beauty and grace, and often said that she had never met such a cat before. Another important figure in Marfusha's life was a little girl named Laura. She lived next to Kira and, like all children, adored animals. Laura often visited Marfusha to pet her fluffy fur and talk to her in a soft, childlike voice. Marfusha, despite her reserve, allowed Laura to cuddle her, as if sensing the genuine kindness in her heart. The girl often brought Marfusha her drawings and shared her childhood secrets, as if the cat were her best friend. And of course, one cannot forget Mark, the local veterinarian. He was cheerful and attentive, with a kind heart and skilled hands. It was he who took care of Marfusha's health, giving her annual vaccinations and providing care advice. Mark always found time to play with Marfusha, and strangely enough, the cat trusted him. Mark often repeated that Marfusha was a special cat, not only outwardly but also internally, as if she radiated kindness and calmness. One morning, when the sunbeams were just beginning to pierce through the foliage, something unexpected happened. Anton, as usual, woke up, reached out to pet Marfusha, but the cat was not nearby. He thought she might have gone out to explore the garden, but she was nowhere to be found. Worried, he began calling her name, but only silence responded. Anton, forgetting about breakfast, searched the entire house, but Marfusha was nowhere to be seen. He went out into the garden, looked under bushes and trees, walked around every corner, but the cat seemed to have vanished. Anton began to panic, gripped by anxiety. Where could his beloved Marfusha be? What could have happened to her? Could she have gotten lost? These questions troubled him, and the sense of unease he had felt in recent days now turned into real fear. That morning, the tranquility of the cozy house was shattered. The idyll turned into anxiety and uncertainty. Marfusha, who seemed an integral part of this place, disappeared, leaving behind only emptiness and a bitter feeling of loss. While Anton was desperately searching for his beloved, Marfusha, frightened and confused, found herself in a completely unfamiliar place. She did not remember how she got there. Everything around seemed foreign and hostile. Loud car noises, sharp smells, frightening shadows, all of these instilled fear and confusion in her. She tried to find her way home, navigating by smells that vaguely reminded her of something, but all was in vain. The city streets were a labyrinth to her, where danger lurked around every corner. She was hungry and exhausted, and with each step her hope of returning home dwindled. During her wanderings, Marfusha met various animals, stray dogs, aggressive cats, other strays like herself. Some of them showed hostility towards her, but there were also those who offered her help and shared food. One cat named Rizhik, Marfusha remembered for a long time. He was old and wise, and it was he who taught her how to survive in this harsh world. He showed her where to find food and water, how to avoid dangers, and how to trust her instincts. Despite all the difficulties, Marfusha did not lose hope. Deep in her feline heart, she continued to believe that one day she would return home to Anton and once again bask in his lap. This hope gave her the strength to keep moving forward, despite fatigue and fear. Days passed, and Marfusha continued her wanderings through the city. She learned to hunt mice and birds to feed herself, became more cautious and careful. But despite her acquired agility and courage, she still yearned for home. She dreamed of nights spent on Anton's lap, his gentle voice, and the cozy home where it was always warm and peaceful. One day, when Marfusha, completely exhausted, was hiding under a car, she heard a familiar voice. It was Laura, who was walking with her mother. Laura, upon seeing Marfusha, immediately recognized her. She ran up to the cat, joyfully exclaiming, "Marfusha, it's you!" But Marfusha, frightened and distrustful, reacted completely differently than Laura expected. She jumped back, hissed, and prepared to attack. The girl, upset by such a reception, did not understand why her beloved was behaving that way. Laura did not know that Marfusha had become a completely different cat, more wild and cautious, and that she needed time to trust people again. This incident only added tension to an already difficult situation. Marfusha realized that the way home would be even longer and harder than she had imagined. But at the same time, it gave her new hope. Now she knew that she was being looked for and awaited, and that she would definitely be found someday. One morning, as Marfusha was once again searching for food, she stumbled upon a familiar place. It was Mark's veterinary clinic. The smell of medicines and clean sheets somehow calmed her. With some caution, she peeked through the window and saw Mark lovingly examining a puppy. Overcoming her fear, Marfusha entered the clinic. Mark, upon seeing the cat, did not recognize his former pet at first. But when Marfusha approached him closer and meowed plaintively, he suddenly realized who was before him. "Marfusha? Is that you?" Mark exclaimed, surprised and delighted. He carefully picked up the cat and examined her closely. Marfusha was dirty, emaciated, with small scratches, but her eyes still gleamed with hope. Mark immediately understood that she needed help. He fed Marfusha, gave her warm drink, and treated her wounds. He was pleased to find that she recognized him. "I'll call Anton. He's probably going crazy with worry," he thought. But suddenly, Kira entered the clinic, to whom Laura had told about the encounter with Marfusha. Kira couldn't believe her eyes and cried tears of joy. Mark calmed Kira and immediately dialed Anton's phone number. A few minutes later, Anton, panting and worried, rushed into the clinic. He saw Marfusha curled up in Mark's arms and was overwhelmed with joy. He dropped to his knees and carefully took the cat into his arms, holding her close. Marfusha, feeling the warmth of his hands and the familiar scent, began to purr loudly, pressing herself against him with her whole body. She returned home. That evening, Marfusha fell asleep again in Anton's lap, as if the long and scary days of separation had never happened. She was happy to be back home with her beloved owner. Anton, in turn, was indescribably happy to have his beloved pet returned. After what she had been through, Marfusha became even more affectionate and grateful. She always greeted Anton at the door and did not stray a step away from him. She learned to appreciate the warmth and comfort of her home, as well as the care and love of those around her. Marfusha became not just a cat. She became a symbol of hope, faith, and devotion. Her story was told to everyone who knew her, and it inspired people to cherish every moment of their lives and treasure their loved ones. Marfusha's story is more than just a tale of a lost and found cat. It is a story about how, even in the most difficult moments of life, one must maintain hope and faith in the best. It is a story about how kindness and love can overcome any obstacles, and that mutual help and devotion are the most important values that make us human. And of course, it is a story about how sometimes a small purring miracle can become the greatest happiness in life. Marfusha showed everyone that even animals can feel and love, that they need our care and attention, and that they can also become our best friends. Her story is a reminder that there is room for miracles in the world, and that anyone who opens their heart to love and kindness will surely find their happiness. And, of course, Marfusha's story is a call to never lose hope, even in the most desperate situations, because behind the darkest clouds, the sun always peeks out, ready to warm us with its heat and light.